Okay, so we're looking at in this clip, the seventh of the footprints raising attainment factors for optimal mindset, and that is learner planning. Learner planning. How do I approach my work in different lessons? Do I instinctively focus on the process of learning or on the intended outcome? So here's our scale now, and our two ends of the scale. At this end of the scale, we have a focus on the process of my learning, and at this end of the scale we have a focus on the intended outcome of my learning. So let's have a look at this end of the scale first, the focus on the process of my learning. Now, our ability to be focused on the process of the learning relates to our ability to be inquiry-based and to engage in open-ended tasks and investigations in discussions and debates when, of course, the outcome is not known, or when we're participating in creative activities. We recognize how important inquiry-based open-ended activities are in terms of developing student learning, and equally we recognize that formative assessment involves having a clarity about what our intended learning outcomes are. So this is the opposite end of our learner planning scale here, and being clear on the outcomes of what we are seeking to learn is particularly important at the start of a lesson, or when we are working on an extended essay or project. We need to know what our outcome is, to keep that in mind, to work towards a goal or a target, to keep it in our head so that we're clear and focused, and on giving feedback to my teacher about what I've understood both during, mid and at the end of lesson plenaries. So the recognition is in this scale here that ultimately the optimal posture for students is that they are able to self-regulate, that they can choose whether they are engaging in an open-ended process of learning, or whether they are committing to and focusing on the intended outcomes of their learning at this end of the scale. If you have a student who scored around this medial place here, you'd want to tease out whether they are clear that they are choosing those different strategies at the right time for these different activities, and are not being slightly random in when they choose to do that. So we can always tease out when it is appropriate to be more inquiry-based or more committed to the focused on the outcome of our learning. So let's have a look at our particular student here now. This is Barney Walker, and he has a baseline score, which is his score when he's not engaged in any learning activity at all, and his baseline is skewed towards the process of learning. So he's more focused in a more kind of open-ended, inquiry-based way, and less focused upon the actual outcomes of his learning. That's his instinctive skew, and we see that when he's engaging in chemistry and English, he keeps that skew. In fact, he exemplifies it even more, especially in English. He becomes really very open here and inquiry-based. That seems to be his posture. And so we want to be helping Barney to think about some of the consequences of that he needs to be able to focus on the intended outcomes of his learning in these subjects, as well as focusing on the process. So we're going to use this speech bubble here from this lad as our resource. Here are the risks, Barney, if you don't engage in a more outcome-focused way. That you might get sidetracked, you might lose sight of the success criteria, you might frustrate other pupils because you take the lesson off in different tangents. So there are some risks, Barney, in being down here. You do need to pull those scores this way. Here are the times when you need to do it, so you're clear metacognitively on when you need to do this. And here's how you can do it. Here are the behaviours and strategies that you can learn to adopt. So which of these are you doing already? Which of these do you want to start doing? Let's again select the ones that you want to have a go at, and we're going to transfer those in our now familiar routine onto our learning student target. The student is going to do that by hand. They're going to write them in here, going to write down which lessons They're going to have a go at doing that. It's going to become a discussion with the teacher, which the teacher is going to sign off. And remember that the teacher is also going to have feedback. The student is going to be working on this and focusing on that, so they're going to be ready to support the student and seeking to support them in the way that they teach. And we're going to have an assessment of progress and a student assessment of progress at the end of the week. Now, we also see that in mathematics, as opposed to chemistry and English, Barney adopts a very outcome-focused mindset when he's engaging with maths. Now that again is interesting. We've noticed that Barney in fact tends to adopt a slightly different position in some of the other factors. We saw that in Barney's processing here, that maths was an outlier over here. A picture's beginning to emerge actually. Perhaps Barney doesn't find maths so easy. He seems to adopt a very different posture. Perhaps it's something to do with the way the lesson is taught and Barney is experiencing it. But when he is in maths, he becomes very much more linear. We saw that in his processing. And he's become very much more outcome focused. So he seems to need to focus on what exactly he's being asked. He needs to know exactly what the task is and really stick to it. And he doesn't want to engage in inquiry-based learning at all. That's something for his maths teacher to be aware of. And his maths teacher will be aware of that because of the footprints report that they will get. It's something perhaps for you to explore with Barney, what it is about maths that perhaps makes him adopt this more outcome focused, more linear, more controlled mindset. And is there a way of supporting Barney? Can Barney learn to be a little bit more engaged in some inquiry-based tasks and investigations where the outcome isn't no? Can Barney trust himself to develop these questioning skills and even engage in independent learning? And which of these concrete things here, Barney, do you think you could commit to this week? Perhaps Barney's going to select one of these, so he's going to engage in inquiry-based tasks without always feeling he needs to know the answer, what the outcome is at the start. And he's going to select that, and we're going to place that into our student target book, and again that becomes a target which is discussed with the teacher. So what's interesting here is that it looks like a particular subject, maths, stands as a bit of an outlier. We can see a consistent pattern here. That's helping me know that there's something particular going on in maths for Barney that I need to be aware of as his tutor. Seems to be a little bit of an outlier in relation to his other subjects and needs a bit more focus in a specific way. Here's my chart where Barney is going, at the end of raising attainment, at the end of the intervention, he's going to mark where he was, where he is now. Hopefully he's going to see that he's made some progress towards the optimal, that he has greater self-regulation about the way he plans his work. He's more aware of that metacognitively, and he can make different choices because he's engaged in better feedback with his teacher. There's a greater, more transparent, open dialogue. Hopefully it will be something that Barney can look back on and say, yes, it has helped me in maths, in English, in chemistry, in his lessons. And he will feel he has a greater sense of agency as a result.